Hey everyone, hope you're having a good Tuesday. Had to reboot the computer, kind of give it a refresh. That's why I'm a little bit later on instead of the newscast shortly after. But now, just to let you know, there was also the RNC that went a little late. So that delayed our 10 o'clock newscast. But I want to get right into it. Not going to do this for several hours, but just want to let you know additional storms are expected. What you were seeing was our WeatherBug network camera from southwest of Harrison, Gaither Mountain, as thunderstorms continue to erupt. And there's been a lot of them. And I know a lot of you are asking, well, where was the thunderstorm activity for tonight? Well, it was just off to the east of us, so it kind of missed us. But as you'll see, we do have thunderstorms that are popping up just to the east of us, and I think more is going to be expected overnight tonight. So just a heads up on that. Here's a look at Heil Heating Cooling Mega Doppler, and you're going to notice quite a bit of thunderstorm activity just to the southeast of Harrison. This is all flash flooding potential. Earlier it was severe, but look at the amount of flash flood warnings. So this type of weather system will bring the potential for flash flooding, and I think that's going to be a primary threat as we start to wind down that severe weather potential. However, we still have the potential for some heavy rain and lightning and obviously a little bit of a noisy morning. But where are the storms for us? Well, we'll break that down for you and I'll show you exactly what you can expect. Yes, an amazing lightning show. A lot of what we call sheet lightning, not a whole lot of cloud to ground activity, which is kind of expected. That's why I'm not wearing the big lightning tie where you have the huge lightning bolts and the anvil crawlers and stuff like that. This is going to be tough to get that type of weather and that type of lightning. But let me break down the latest for you. So we do have a flood watch that's just to the northeast of us, but look at the multitude of flash flood warnings. In fact, every single storm that developed tonight has that flash flood warning criteria. And so there you see a flash flood warning till 12:45. Some really heavy rain falling across this area until 2 a.m. That's one of the latest and newest flood warnings, flash flood warnings. Here's a look at the amount of rain totals that we had as that pops up. So is that possible for Northwest Arkansas? Yes, models are agreeing, and a lot of them are in agreement that we will have that potential for heavy rain and flash flooding as additional storms are likely going to develop overnight tonight. Will it be severe? Well, the severe weather threat is kind of lessening, not completely, but definitely lessening. But if you step outside, you can feel the mugginess. You can feel that warmth and humidity, and that is going to lead to the potential for some heavy rain. So let me break this down for you here as that data continues to load. Let's see here. Let it load. And then I'll show you how much rain we've seen over the last several hours. While that's loading up, let me show you this. This is the frontal boundary that's to the northwest. You'll notice that complex of storms. I'm going to go back 12 hours because you might remember us talking about storms that were going to develop, but they didn't really develop here. They were just east of us. So why did they develop east of us? Well, you can see the upper level support. It is this system right here. So I'm going to point it out for you. It's this right in here. See that upper level spin? Now watch as we put it into motion. You can see that vortmax. See that upper level spin? Now remember, the best lift is east of that. So east of that is where you had the greatest lift. You also had a differential heating boundary, meaning really warm and humid. And then you've got not as warm, not as hot, if you will, with some cloud cover. And then there was some sunshine breaking through. So that led to a little bit of a differential heating boundary. You can also see, too, from the complex of storms that developed this morning, it's kind of tough to see, but there was definitely a definitive outflow boundary. And as that outflow boundary worked its way south, well, guess what that did? That brought the thunderstorms along that boundary, and that's all it took. And then you see the clusters of storms popping up, some severe storms, and then they drop south. So the timing, it wasn't terrible. The location wasn't quite perfect. But the development of storms about 9, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, that was on the money. It was just a little bit east of us. So what's going to happen? Well, the potential is there for this outflow boundary to work its way westward, which will eventually what we call backbuild additional storms. And that's going to happen over northwest Arkansas. I wonder if it's already starting to take place. Let's see. Now, but it could, and it could pop up additional storms. I'll show you the future radar in just a bit. But we also have, at the same time, energy that's swinging in from the west. Now, we can see that as we put that into motion, that complex of storms, kind of uncertain exactly where that's going to go, but that could develop another what we call MCV, mesoscale convective vortex, which could lead to additional storms. And there is going to be more development. In fact, you can see that taking place just to the east. So this is expected to blossom along that little trough axis and that weather system. And so let's take a look at who's expected to get the most. Now, let me see if those rain totals loaded. Yes, they finally did. And look at the amount of rain here. Remember, this is just over 6 hours. So this just shows you what's the potential is there for the amount of rain that we could see from this. Let's just say it's quite a bit. So if we take a look here, click on this and we'll look at some of the totals here. So that's radar estimate, but that shows you 12.2. And then there's also a wind damage report. Let's get that information. And trees down near the intersection of AR Highway 14 and 87. That was at just before 8 o'clock when the new severe weather risk came out. But look at the amount of rainfall. My goodness. West of 56, northwest of Mountain View. That is where you had training of thunderstorms, which can produce heavy rain. Now, this kind of reminds me of what happened in the early morning hours of early August for Bella Vista. There was a big time flood. Trying to remember the year, and it's kind of tough too, but it was like 2012 around that there was a really heavy rain that fell in southwest Missouri where 10 inches of rain fell in Bella Vista. This is that type of system that can produce that amount of rain. So let's take a look at the timing on the latest. So here's, first of all, the severe weather risk. As you'll see, we still have that level 1 over all of our area and a level 2 in northeastern sections of our weather coverage area. That includes Carroll County, Newton County, Boone County. That's where additional storms are expected to develop from this complex. It is kind of slow to develop, but we have plenty of instability, maybe not as much as we originally had. And there you see those storms popping up, and then also how they're kind of back building just a little bit. So we'll watch that closely. But this is what has really increased the amount of flash flooding potential. See how that level 2 excessive rainfall forecast now spreads out over our entire area, except for the river valley. So the storms are expected in the northwest Arkansas area. Timing is going to be overnight, where we could have 1 to 2 inch per hour rainfall rates, and it could even exceed that. Because let's just face it, the atmosphere is absolutely primed with moisture. Now, the models, they struggled on the location. They did pretty well on the timing. Let's take a look at what they do with the very latest. So we'll pause it at the very end of this satellite radar loop. And here you go. Not a whole lot of storm development in northeast Oklahoma, but there are some things that are already starting to pop up. It did okay with this, although it's a little underdone. So we're not capped. Well, we are capped a little bit. Now, notice, though, we just don't have any upper-level support, Tiffany. That's what we're lacking. And while the winds aloft will be weak, that is what's leading to the potential for heavy rain. We're not capped, but we don't have the forcing yet. Once we get the strengthening low-level jet, which is winds in the low levels, that's going to lead to what we call isotropic lift, which will eventually lead to some thunderstorm activity. And then there you see the development right there. So the model has been insistent that about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe even a little earlier, around 2 o'clock in the morning, thunderstorms are going to erupt. And then you can see them kind of spreading out over the area. Similar to what north central Arkansas saw late this night. Then you see those storms kind of working their way southeast, still raining, And then additional little energy rolls in where we could see some storms popping up during the afternoon. That is the very latest HRRR. I'm going to give you a zoomed in view of that just to give you an idea of when you can expect those storms. So that's kind of a more zoomed out, wider view, but we're going to zoom in a little bit and we're going to show you a close up view of what you can expect as we step through this. So here we go. Just about 1 o'clock in the morning, you can see that development in northeast Oklahoma where it's been pretty quiet. And then in the morning hours, there's the thunderstorms rolling in. So I personally think 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going to start hearing some rumbles of thunder as that energy swings in. And I mean, the atmosphere is primed. You feel the humidity, the mugginess. Dew points are in the mid 70s. It's extremely warm and humid. So, Brendan, the tornado potential is very, very, very low. I mean, we're talking 0.01%. And the reason for that is the storms are going to be very elevated. The bases of these thunderstorms will be high up. The wind shear isn't quite there. We don't have strong low level winds. We also don't have a lot of jet stream energy as that remains to the north. But look at all those storms that are popping up. And then by late morning into the afternoon, that will start to move out. Now, there could be additional storms. Let's show you another short range model. So this is the graph 3 kilometer. Notice the cluster of storms in northwest Oklahoma. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit more. And I know, Kylie, you're like, where are the storms? Yeah, they took a little while to develop here. But remember, just to the east of us, if you haven't seen, definitely a lightning show. Here's Gaither Mountain, our WeatherBug network camera. And you can see the flashes of lightning. Now, that's a little bit of a slower stream. I'll show you a faster one. As I bring that up, stand by. Will there be power outages by chance? You know, Hydra, that's always a possibility with thunderstorms, and that's always something that could take place. So, yeah, we'll just continue to watch that as we could see some sporadic power outages. I'm not completely discounting that, but you know, sometimes you can't completely rule that out with this type of system, but it's not going to be super widespread. I think there might be some sporadic power outages. So let me go back to this. I'll show you a little bit of a faster lightning stream so you can see those flashes taking place. It's definitely not as highly electrified as it was earlier. Yeah, I understand that, Sandra, especially after May 26th. Ooh, TJ, that is a very good question. It's actually a pretty complicated formula. So I'll show you here. Trying to give you a good explanation here. Giving you the actual formula. And I'm making sure that none of this stuff, you know, every time you ask a question, it brings up this. It brings up AI, and then AI half the time is all wrong. Yeah, stand by. I'll have to show you. Yeah, see, I don't want the wind chill. Need index conversion. Let's see. Basically, because of the mugginess that's in the air. Yeah, there you go. You got virtual temperature, you got relative humidity, you got multiple equations. It's kind of crazy. So if you wanted to see this, I'll show you this real quick. Stand by. I finally found a good site to look at it. Yeah. Well, that's one way to do it. That's a more that's a simpler way. So I'll bring that back up. Jake said feels like ATEWS. Like, great. What does that mean? Um, I'll show you this here real fast. So there you go. If you want to know the true equation, they modified it and they updated it. So they've got some constants, they got some variables, you've got relative humidity. Yeah, you know what though? That's the problem. That's the old formula, and this is the newer one. So, and if I scroll down here, you'll be able to see that they've changed the heat index map. So the math is all done for you. So with the relative humidity, which is really high right now, and then you've got temperatures that are in the mid 80s. So you've got heat index values that are up there. Let's take a look here at what we've got in terms of the heat index. So we'll bring that up and we'll take a look. So stand by here. And then I'll show you more on the storms. But this is the relative humidity right now. Ugh. Ah. Yuck. 84%. Grove that's not right. 94% for Tahlequah, 65% for Fort Smith. So that's the relative humidity. Now remember, relative humidity is a little different than dew points. So this is where it gets tricky. But you guys asked, so I'll open up the can of worms here. Here is the dew points. Oh my goodness. Mid 70s. That is brutal. 76 in Fort Smith is what the dew point is. So what does that do for the heat index here? Well, let's check it out. We'll look at Northwest Arkansas to River Valley. So heat index in Northwest Arkansas and Fayetteville is 82. But look at the heat index in Fort Smith, 100%. Or not 100%. 100 degrees is what it feels like, not 100%. I was thinking of relative humidity. No, that 100% in Grove isn't right either, unless it's raining. But if we look at the actual temperatures, you'll notice that it's dropped a little bit. So 82. So 82 isn't quite as much, but pretty hot in the River Valley, and then that's going to lead to additional storms. But look at all of that fuel that's available for storms to develop. So this is why we have the potential for some heavy rain. 100% hot as heck. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, exactly. There's something wrong with that sensor. So, yeah, not correct, Jacob. But this complex of storms is going to have a really decent amount of moisture to work with. And I'll show you some of the meso analysis. But let's get back to this. Here's the future track. There's a complex of storms rolling in. See how that development takes place? That's along that trough axis. And that's why we're going to see the potential for storms overnight tonight. How much rain, you ask? Well, that's a good question. Let's see what the model is breaking out in terms of rainfall. So we'll look at the latest here. And remember, this is going to vary exactly where the storms are on the models. So this shows about inch and a half, but heavier rain totals if you're not, if you're directly in the path of these storms. If you're not, then you get less. But, look at what happened up north. That's not nearly as much as expected. Now, the next 3-day total, let's show you. All the models are predicting rainfall. So we can see the graph is the least amount at 1/100th of an inch. And the European has about an inch, which is the next 3 days. But the next 3 days really happen tomorrow. And then look at the NAM. The NAM has that bullseye. So there's the potential for someone to really get rocked with some heavy rain. And sometimes that could develop right over our area. So here's the timing of this. This is what I honestly think. A 40-degree heat index contour near Little Rock. Yeah, that was an anomaly. But look at that, 70% for the chance of precipitation in the morning hours. It makes sense. I think that's what's going to happen. Let's see if there's any development out west. It has been slow. There's no doubt been slow. But I do think that we're going to see some storms overnight tonight. If we don't, I'll be surprised because basically every model is agreeing that there will be development tonight. And meteorologically, it makes sense too. So let's get back to this on the future track. You're going to see, again, overnight tonight, there's the storms popping up. Look at that, about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning as that wave of energy comes in. Maybe not as super heavy rain as it was. Oh, man, is that Nile Horan tomorrow? Wow, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, I think there could be a stray shower or storm, but I honestly think tomorrow evening will be good. River Valley will have a little more storm activity. And let me show you what I mean by that. So here's the storm activity that pops up tonight. There's tomorrow morning. There's 10 o'clock. Then it kind of breaks apart. I believe that. But there's another little wave that comes in, a few little isolated showers and storms. And then I think it's out of here. So I think Nile Horan should be okay. But there might be a few isolated showers during the evening tomorrow, just briefly. And then it moves out. And then I think Thursday, that's way overdone in terms of energy. So real quick, I'm going to load up some stuff. We're going to look at the Vort Max that's coming in, see the energy. You can definitely see it coming in. So it makes sense that it's going to rain. Let me show you. So this is the water vapor, the good old trusty water vapor. And here comes that little bit of energy right here that's moving into Nebraska. And we're not quite in the brunt of it. That's why there were tornadoes in Nebraska earlier today. But then you can see this complex evolving from the outflow boundary, but you almost can tell that it's going to merge with additional storms out west. So I know, just no craziness. I'll take the rain. Yes, the main threat tonight is going to be the potential for flooding. And that's if these storms do in fact develop. And I think they do. All right, let's talk about some good stuff, shall we? I mean, the rain is nice too, but it's rocking the campground at Greer's Ferry with intense lightning and heavy rain. Yes, it is. And let me show you that real quick. So there you go. Here, Fairfield Bay, Heber Springs. There's Greer's Ferry right there, right in the middle. And so, yeah, you are right smack dab in the heavy rain, Mark. So that's why you're experiencing all that. And there's a lot of lightning with this stuff too. We'll pop on the lightning activity and you'll see it, especially during the end of the loop, really building up. Remember our camera located southwest of Harrison looking southeast. And we come back to weather 2 and you can see the lightning show. Just rain, but also the potential for maybe a little bit of storm activity. So, Kylie, that's a good question. I'm soloing it tonight. Peyton is under the weather. He called me earlier today, called in sick. Zach is off tonight. He's off Monday and Tuesday for his days off. And Josh will be coming in a little later. So that's why I'm soloing it. So it's just me, myself, and I. Now look at what's happening west of Tulsa. This is the thunderstorm development that's starting to take place. And so this is a foreshadow of things to come. See that development? That's kind of dropping south, but I think additional storms are expected to develop. All models are kind of really showing this. Basically everything, you name it. And in fact, hot off the press, talking about that flood threat, guess what they just issued? A flood watch. This just came out right now. Let's take a look at it. Does include Delaware County. Not sure how much of Northwest Arkansas is included, but there you go. There you have it. So we've been talking about that flooding threat. I believe that this is correct. And there it is, flood watch that's been issued. So you can see it covering our area, and that's Northwest Arkansas. And honestly, I think they might fill in Berry and McDonald County too. But look at that, until 8 o'clock in the morning Wednesday. So rain is coming. And we have a lot of moisture in the atmosphere to work with to bring, let's just say, some super heavy rain. Now I can show you that. Let's geek out a little bit. Speaking of geeking out, if you didn't get a chance to see our severe weather special, One Supercell to Remember, it's on YouTube, but you can really geek out on that. So, but there it is, flood watch that's been issued. Not a flash flood watch because they don't issue those anymore, but flood watch, and that's right over Northwest Arkansas. That's brand new. You'll see the automatic tweet going on that, also on Facebook, and you may get the notification 2 days later. But yeah, make sure you check out One Supercell to Remember. It's about the May 26th storms and tornadoes, but we kind of take you through chronologically what happened, and then we look at the aftermath, and then we look at how the community is recovering. And it's a wild ride, that's for sure. But we spent a lot of time on it, and yeah, it is available. In fact, here's what I'll do. We also have it on our website, just to let you know, if you don't have YouTube or you can't get on YouTube. We have it on our website, knwa.com. You can check it out there. However, I will show you where mine is here real fast. Stand by. There we are. So share, copy. So I guess this is a kind of a shameless plug, David, but I'll post it to everything. There we go. That is that's the link, the YouTube link. But you can also get it on knwa.com. It comes in segments, but it's best to just kind of watch it all the way through. So there it is, new flood watch that's been issued. Makes sense, understandable. That's why I wanted to do this update, let you know about it. Storms are still expected tonight, even though it's quiet. It's the calm before the storm, and it could get really heavy. As you saw, that flooding threat was definitely realized off to the east. If we look at the Weather Prediction Center, they have a level 2, and it covers our entire area. So that means scatter flash floods will be possible. Yeah, that's a good question. So this is the question: why is there no flood watch? It's kind of too late, honestly. So that's something like a mesoscale accident, as we call it. Mesoscale is where you have a shorter or a smaller frame of reference. It's a smaller, basically, scale meteorology, and things can happen unexpectedly. And that was a mesoscale accident where all of those storms kind of blew up. And so that is a good question. Why isn't there a flood watch over that area? Well, I think because it's already a warning. So there's no reason to watch and give people a heads up when it's already flooding. So that's kind of what we've been looking at. All right. So now that we got the new flood watch, let's show you some good news. The frontal boundary is coming in. We're about to see a change in our weather pattern, and that's going to lead to, let's just say some cooler weather, some big time cooler weather. No, Trace, I can't just say that. It's not just heavy rain. There's going to be thunderstorm activity. And there could be severe weather potential too, just to let you know. Now, we're not talking about tornadoes, but we do have the potential for gusty winds and hail just with some of the storms. Any storm could collapse and produce some localized wind damage. So it's not just going to be the potential for heavy rain. Remember, these storms, because they have the potential for heavy rain, can also bring some hail and damaging winds. But the majority of the threat is, in fact, flooding. So just to be clear, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, back to the map. This is what we've got. Jet stream. Big dip in the jet stream. Watch what happens and evolve. See, that's where all the severe weather was, where the River Ver 20 to 30,000 feet is off to the north. There you see that little dip coming in tomorrow. That's why we'll still see some thunderstorms. Now watch what happens. That cool weather starts filtering in. But then you can't really see it, but there's a system that dives in by the end of the weekend, and that dip in the jet stream will allow some colder weather to move in. And so we're talking highs in the upper 70s early next week, and the ridge of high pressure builds in over the desert southwest. So it will be hot over California, Nevada, as well as Arizona. But here is a better look. So again, what you're looking at is vorticity. These are the spins in the atmosphere. Here's a bunch of the energy. By the way, this is the energy that brings the thunderstorms to the northwest, Trace. So just to let you know, we still have that potential for storms. That energy drops southeast. Watch what happens. See that little wave? The reason that we didn't see the storms tonight is because we had sinking air behind the wave that came through, and the storms just didn't develop here. They developed out ahead of it. That's why the storms developed in north central Arkansas. But watch what happens here. Dip in the jet stream. You're going to see that upper level flow start to kick east. See the wave of energy that swings in tonight, though? I'm going to point it out again. It's in western Nebraska or western Kansas, western Oklahoma Panhandle, southwestern Nebraska. We put it into motion. You can see that energy swinging in, and then it starts to clear out. So plenty of northwest flow tomorrow to lead to some storm activity on and off throughout the day. But as we move into our Friday, much cooler weather, and not only that, but drier weather. But look at this little spin. You can see it popping up. It's a what we call close low, because what it's going to do is produce essentially a low pressure system that kind of cuts itself off from the jet stream, and that allows it to just kind of churn over our area. What that's going to do is bring rain and thunderstorm activity, and that's going to be several days of it. And that's just very likely a cooler weather pattern. And therefore, we look at the 6 to 10 day outlook and the 8 to 14 day outlook, and you got cooler than normal. If we look at the precipitation outlook, possibly wetter than normal. That makes perfect sense. And just for grins, let's look at the 8 to 14 day outlook for precipitation. I wouldn't doubt if it's around normal. And see, there you go. Normal, but maybe slightly above, potentially. Oh, you know what, Nikita? The good day for that, as we show you the 7-day forecast, will be Friday. Oh, yeah. Friday morning is looking fabulous. Look at that. Upper 50s for morning lows. Lower humidity, drier air. That was, by the way, a good cloud to ground lightning strike. So these storms are intensifying. It looks like we got new updrafts popping up, more energy. And boy, that is a serious flooding event, north central Arkansas. Kind of reminds me localized of like a Albert Pike kind of thing. So if you are, if you are in the Greers Ferry area, like we had that comment, let me know. This is going to be, it's going to be rough. I mean, it is. Flash flood warnings all over the place. But let me get my camera off the screen. There you see upper 50s, and then look at the high temperatures too, lower 80s. I went a little cooler than what the models show, but then we start to warm up a little bit on Saturday, and then there's that cutoff low that develops Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and an active pattern again. Cloud cover and rain looks likely. and that's why we've got those storm chances, and also temperatures in the upper 70s, lower 80s. Your River Valley forecast shows mid 80s, 84 on Monday. Look at the morning lows on Friday morning, mid 60s. Hasn't been mid 60s for a while. So that's going to be nice. Noticeably cooler weather. There's the frontal boundary moving in, maybe a little bit later in the River Valley. And then Friday, Saturday looks to be really nice, potentially. Of course, keep in mind, northwest flow sometimes can bring surprises. Let me go back to this weather camera here from Gaither Mountain because it is popping off. There's been some good cloud to ground lightning strikes too. Show you this. Oh, there you go. There's some good ones. In fact, I want to show you something here. Got kind of like a frog in my throat. All right. I'll show you something. So once this loads, we're going to look at some drier air that filters in. Because right now, it is humid as all get out. But you'll see here over time, when this frontal boundary comes through, see that dry air filtering in? Now, it doesn't happen tomorrow. Tomorrow will still be a bit on the muggy side. But there, Wednesday night into Thursday, it starts getting less humid. Now look at Thursday afternoon. Oh, yeah. Come to Papa. Upper 50s for dew points. And then look at Friday morning. We get down into the mid 50s, I think, for dew points. So perhaps maybe a little bit of fog Friday morning. Not out of the question. And some dew on the grass. And then that moisture kind of stays down to the south along the Gulf. So we definitely have a different weather pattern coming our way. If you're just hopping on, this is what we got. Thunderstorms likely tonight. Here's the very latest timing. We've got a new flood watch that's been issued. You can see that chance of rain really ramps up later on tonight. Why is it not happening now? Because there's no upper level energy. But that's about to change. In fact, I want to show you here. Let's look at some mesoanalysis here. So first of all, this is the model sounding. Well, I'm going to go back and get the latest model sounding for today. Here we go. So here's Springfield's model sounding. So we were just a little bit capped. You can see that 16 sin. And that's why the storms didn't develop. Look at the upper level winds. So weak. This is why the flooding threat is so significant, because if you look at the precipitable water, which is basically the amount of moisture that's in the atmosphere, it is absolutely through the roof. 1.54, and it's even higher for Arkansas. There you see the precipitable water of 1.44, and Oklahoma City has precipitable water of 1.5. But there was a little bit of a cap, which the models didn't have, and that's why those storms didn't develop. It took that outflow boundary to pop off those storms. So that's a little mesoscale accident that took place. So let's go to what we call the forecast tools. We'll look at what's called the composite map. This is something that I like to look at. And so here's the energy that's moving in. It is limited, and this is why we're getting sinking air, but additional storms should be popping up. And we can see those vertical velocities starting to increase over northeast Oklahoma, but they're really crazy over north central Arkansas, and that's why those storms ramped up. There's the jet stream, not really anywhere a part of us. The frontal boundary is still way north, so that doesn't come in until tomorrow afternoon. If we look at the low-level jet, it's starting to kick in a little bit. This is why the storms could pop up. If we look at lapse rates, they're not really a thing over us. That's why hail isn't as much of a concern. Helicity and shear isn't there. The moisture convergence is there. That's why we could see some thunderstorms popping up. The Cape is definitely there, and we'll take a closer look at that because we have so much mugginess around. So let's go back to what we call the mesoanalysis. We'll bring up the Southern Plains sector, make sure that that's what we're on here. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring this up full so you guys can see this really well. All right, so this is the meso analysis. We'll look at supercell composite, which is there. So thunderstorms still expected to develop. Upper level winds, very weak. If you look at the tornado potential, it's basically non existent. And the reason for that is you got capped low levels of the atmosphere. You don't have surface based storms. You don't have strong wind shear. Look at the bulk shear. It's starting to increase a little bit, but 25 knots is very weak. But strong enough where some energy is moving in, and that's why those storms are going to start to develop here real soon. If we look at thermodynamics, there's the instability, but we are capped. So we do have a little bit of capping that's going on, and that's why the storms haven't popped up yet. And we're still going to be capped at the surface. So as far as damaging wind potential with downbursts and a strong cold pool, probably not going to happen, but there still could be a storm or two that becomes severe. Hail parameters, probably not going to be super high. You can see it is in southwest Missouri, central Arkansas, northeast Oklahoma, but around here, just not as great. 0 to 3 kilometer Cape, that's pretty high, so that's something to watch. That could lead to some pretty strong updrafts. So 0 to 3 kilometer Cape is strong. However, we look at the shear vector and it's not 30 knots. So we do not have QLCS tornado potential because it just is not meeting that threshold. So anyways, that's kind of geeking out. We're looking at a bunch of stuff. Look at the pressure change here. You'll see a little bit of a pressure change to the west. Let's look at the 3-hour dew point change. So it's decreased over northwest central Arkansas. And finally, mostly unstable Cape, 4,000. So we've got plenty of fuel for elevated storms. Oh, here's the precipitable water. Look at that. 2.1, 2.2, it looks like, over those storms that are over Greers Ferry. So, all right, so that's enough of that. You got a lot of heavy rain that's coming down. And when we look at heavy rain potential, look at the precipitable water and the moisture transport. So all those higher precipitable waters are coming our way. The 850 millibar transport, 925 to 850. So precipitation potential, there you see it over northeast Oklahoma. The mean mixing ratio is pretty high. These are all things that we kind of look at. So you can look at this as well. Significant hail is probably not going to be a threat at all. Yeah. But really, really slow moving elevated storms. So lightning, probably not as many cloudy ground lightning strikes. And let's do one more thing. Let's look at forecast tools. Let's look at something called the HREF model. So it's a high resolution. We'll zoom in here a little bit. Southern Plains. This is the 0Z. Let's go to member view. Let's go to paintball. Let's see what models have storms. Pretty much a lot of them do. So there's overnight. I mean, there's definitely agreement for storms overnight. You can see that right there developing. That's the HRW NSSL. And yeah, so that is why the confidence is really high that we have the potential for some heavy rain that will be developing overnight tonight. Let's look at precipitation. Let's look at threshold probabilities. So there you go. 70-80%, which that's pretty understandable. If you look at the main QPF, the 1 hour QPF, quantitative precipitation forecast. If we look at severe, probably not going to see as much severe weather potential. Still some Cape, but Yeah, and still some more develops throughout the morning hours tomorrow after this storm system comes through. Here's the mean precipitable water. Let me go to that real quick. So really high moisture content, and then look at that develop overnight and into the morning. So yeah, potential is there for some heavy rain. David's like, love the geeking out. Yep, they do support back building storms. You got it. No doubt about that. You guys are pretty smart. Hey, I want to give this service a shout out real quick. It's Weather Call Next Gen. Maybe you've heard about it. We talk about it quite often, but the company is actually hosting a special meeting, and this meeting is taking place on Thursday. But I wanted to mention Weather Call Next Gen because in the middle of the night, there could be some thunderstorms that develop, and you will get crucial warnings for severe weather, but only if your location is within a severe thunderstorm warning polygon. So that way, if you hear rumbles of thunder, but you don't get a call, then you know that, hey, you're not in the warning. Weather Call provides up to the minute phone calls, text, emails. It only gives you that call if you're in the warning. It'll also let you know if a storm is enhanced, meaning it's got the destructive or considerable tags. And not only that, live radar, real time lightning, and you got safety recommendation actions. So how do you get to that? Well, you can go to weathercallservices.com, or I'll show you something real quick. We'll go back to this. I'll bring up this. We'll go to knwa.com. Click on that. That's going to load up our website. Then you're going to go to weather, and you're going to see it right there, second from the bottom in the middle column. Click on that, and there's Weather Call Next Gen. And so you can get signed up for that. Real easy to do, not real difficult. There is a little bit of a cost. It's $12 per year, so $1 a month. And it's really awesome, though. The reason that it costs is it takes money to keep up all those servers and all that stuff. Let me bring that back up here. Turn white. You do have to pay for the service, but you know what, Kylie? Sometimes you get what you pay for, as I like to say. It's kind of like I'm in the market for getting an outdoor theater, and I can go really cheap and buy a really poor projector, and my screen is going to be dim. I kind of want to, just to maybe have like outdoor movie night or something like that with an inflatable screen. But if I get a better projector, then I'll have a better experience. So you can kind of think of it that way. All right, here's some more storms that are popping up to the west, and then that's what's going to be eventually developing. So when is the rain going to hit? About 3 o'clock in the morning. We're not far away. Let me show this again here and pop this up. It's, $1 a month. That's less than, a cup of coffee. And really, honestly, it's a great service. Really will keep you safe. And a lot of people use that on May 26th because they had early morning calls. Let's think about it this way. It calls landline phones because sometimes you're out in the country and your cell service is poor, poor, poor. And so you may not get those apps. You may not get those notifications. The WEA alerts may not work. All those things can be a breakdown in the warning system. And that's just another source of warning. So let's go to the future radar. Well, thank you, Kylie. I appreciate that. And that doesn't mean don't get the app, but the app is not exact site specific on the alerts. It's good. It's by zip code, but it's not the exact location of the warning. And sometimes being overwarned can be an issue. So here's the future track. There's the storms. We put this into motion. You can see that development that takes place. And so early morning hours, be ready. Some storms going to be popping up here pretty soon. Oh, wow. First of all, your username is making me hungry. I could go for an ice cream sandwich right now. That would be incredible. But you're very welcome. Ice cream sandwich number 4. I'll have 4 ice cream sandwiches too. But I'm glad your grandma's safe. It touched down right behind her house. Whew, that is nasty. Yeah, that storm was crazy. But remember, that had a lot more upper level support. Now we've got a lot of fuel for those storms, but necessarily we don't have the fan to push them along, which is the upper level jet stream energy. So there's all the storms that are developing. Notice how they're just really not back building. They're kind of slowly back building, but my goodness, this is going to be one serious flooding event that could lead to maybe some considerable flash flooding in north central Arkansas. And some of those rivers and streams, they could be getting pretty serious considering the amount of rainfall that's fallen already. So, yeah, exactly. Most intense storm I've experienced the past 4 hours of lightning and rain. It is, Mark. Mark, you're in the Greers Ferry area. I'll zip right in on that and show you. There's Fairfield Bay, there's Heber Springs, there's Greers Ferry. I know that area. If we take it off here, there's the lake, and we put it back on. There's got to be some flooding, some localized flooding too. Pop on some local storm reports. I'm not seeing many as of now, but keep in mind it is in the middle of the night. Yeah, the radar estimates are unreal. Look at this. So I'm going to zoom in on this. I mean, seriously? Big Flat, Solomore, Mountain View, just northwest of that, 56. I mean, that's insane. 12.4, according to estimates. What about Greers Ferry? Let's check it out. Let's go down a little bit. There's Fairfield Bay. So not as much for the Greers Ferry area, but it's getting there. Just east of that, some heavy rain. Let me show you what I got here. 8.9. Greers Ferry 3.5. So a little bit east of the Greers Ferry is where you have the heaviest rain. Golly, that's a lot of rain. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see that. That is intense. Are we starting to see more storm development? Let's watch. Still not developing over our area. Starting to, look at that. East of Tulsa. I think that's the beginning stages of it. Potentially. Could just be a little glitch in the radar, but that's typically how it starts. One way we can tell is let's bring up the I'm pretty sure we're going to be in the mesosector 1. Let's see. Maybe not. Yep. Oh, we're just outside of the mesosector 1. Let's look at mesosector 2. We got to be in that. Nope. There we go. So we're in the GOES 17 mesosector. So let's let that load. Yeah. See that translating eastward? So there's that development. Look at the upper level energy. You can see the upper level support coming in. Cooling cloud tops right here. There you got it moving southeast. And you can see that development. We might get a lot of rain from this. That's an MCS that's developing, and I have a feeling this could be a little too much rain overnight. That's not good. That's a heavy rain event that's unfolding. And if you're just hopping on here, during the 10 o'clock news, there wasn't any type of flooding potential. Well, I always thought there was. Now they issued not only a severe thunderstorm watch to the west, but they've got a flood watch now that goes until 8 a.m. So you guys heard it first. You can tell your friends and family, like, I didn't think it was going to storm last night. And you'd be like, go watch Dan's hour-long live. So, yeah, I think this is going to set the stage for some heavy rainfall. And the flood watch makes perfect sense, in my opinion. I'll bring up one more model here. Here's the NAM 3-kilometer. This is the very latest one. Let's see what it shows. So first of all, that's overdone because that's got all the storms just a little too far west. And then those back build over the area. So that's kind of way off. Yeah, that's trash. Goodbye. I gotta look at that. That's garbage. That does a good job. See how those storms are east? Put it into motion, though, and storms start developing. So just 2 hours away from storm development. All right, guys. Well, that about does it for me. Just to let you know, too, I am going to be taking just a little bit of time off tomorrow evening. I will not be on the late shows. Whether Peyton is sick tomorrow, Zach will be in, and he'll be covering that. And then on Thursday, I'm taking some time off all the way until Monday of next week. Now, the weather looks great. Definitely some rain and thunderstorm activity coming Monday through Tuesday, Sunday through Tuesday of next week. But that doesn't look severe. That just looks like kind of like a slow soaker, cloudy and rainy. But we'll be watching it. Josh will be in with the latest. He'll have an update here shortly. But I'm going to leave you here with a few more lightning shots here from our WeatherBug Network camera. As you can see, that lightning is definitely cranking up still. And that's not stopping. It seems like anytime soon. So I'll go just 1 or 2 more minutes. If you have any other questions, you guys can ask away and I'll answer them. But other than that, heavy rain tomorrow morning. I think we're going to see that potential for flooding. We have that risk. I do want to see if there's any type of weather prediction center mesoscale precip discussion. Aha, there is. All right. Hey, that was like just issued not too long ago, 11/22. So, all right. Before I leave, I want to show you this real quick. So we're going to zoom in here. All right. We'll remove. We'll stop screen. We'll present. Okay. So this is the Weather Prediction Center mesoscale precipitation discussion. Flash flood potential continues potentially through 10Z. If we look at what they're saying, remember we already kind of looked at all this. A slow-moving cluster of storms persists. 1 to 2 inch per hour rainfall rates. 3 to 6 hours and 3 hours have also been estimated. Flash flooding is likely. Potential continues across the discussion area. Vigorous thunderstorm development has occurred beneath a remnant MCS for morning convection. We talked about that, which is the outflow boundary. Cells on the western periphery are ingesting preconvective air. This environment is continuing to foster extremely heavy rainfall. Models and observations both hint at continued redevelopment of the convective cluster, especially on its western flank. So far, that hasn't happened, with slow eastward movement of the individual cells. Both the 0Z high-resolution NAM, which we saw was trash, and the recent runs of the HRRR have hinted this behavior. Flash flood guidance thresholds 3 inches per hour, 4 inches for 3 hours. It appears that 1, sensitive low lying areas, and 2, areas that experience prolonged heavy rain are most likely to experience impact. So there you have it. There's that area that shows up. All right. Any chance of high winds? Yeah, there's always a chance, but the majority of this will be noisy storms with some gusty winds, possibly up to 50, 60 miles an hour. It's not going to be nearly as nasty as what we had, in late May. So we just don't have all that support. New risk is going to be coming out soon. Now, remember, that's going to crop out the early morning severe thunderstorm coverage. So what that will do is that'll show you what's expected from 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. Wednesday into Thursday. So the risk will be gone. But overnight tonight, we're still going to continue with the storms. In a camper tonight, okay. So be aware. Make sure you have ways to get warnings if, in fact, you have that. And I don't know if you're by a creek or a stream, but just be aware, heavy rain potential is going to be possible. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you want to catch the special, I posted the link in the comments. One supercell to remember. And weather call, totally worth it. Wakes up with a text and a call, $12 a year. Very easy to use. Yes, Cindy, great information there. All right. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, everybody else. God bless. Take care. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Hump day. Guess what day it is? Hump day. All right. We'll see you. And channel my inner Josh on that one. All right. We'll catch you later. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.